Los Angeles Rams headed to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this weekend. I have to say, I don't really hold a grudge against either of these teams as much as we just talked about with San Fran and Green Bay, where I'm like entirely holding a grudge against Green Bay for not being able to put teams away. These teams, it's a more interesting game for the NFC side of things, in my opinion. But if you didn't just check out our last video, go check that out. Also, I mean, just because you're clicking on our channel, that obviously means that you should subscribe because we're almost to 100 subscribers. And, rarely do I point that out, but I mean, come on, triple digits, that's pretty cool. Okay. Anyways, Los Angeles Rams at Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'll lead into this one since I let you talk about San Fran and Green Bay a little bit. But it kind of comes back to the Green Bay point with one of these teams. This team happens to be the away team this time. I really felt confident that the Rams were going to be able to beat up on Arizona last week. They did, so I felt good about getting that one right, and that wasn't one where I was just going against the grain to try to beat you, so I actually got that game correct picking them last week. But, once again, came back to the point of either of those teams playing last week, I don't know if I can expect consistency out of them. You want to talk about who is the most consistent player in probably NFL history, he is starting at quarterback for the other team in this matchup. These two teams met earlier this year, and the Rams pulled that one out, correct? But that one was in LA. I don't know if I would say that either of these teams have crazy home field advantages. I think obviously home field advantage does play a role for both these teams, but I don't think the home field advantage is crazy for either of these teams. So I don't know how much that affects the game, but considering the Rams' recent inconsistency and the consistency at the quarterback side of the other side of the ball, being the Buccaneers offense and Tom Brady, that's just the thing I look to first. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I really don't think you can look back at the time or earlier in the season when these two teams played each other and use that as a measuring stick for this game because it's two very different teams now that are going to be playing each other, as cliche as that is. I mean, this last game that they played each other in, Tom Brady led the Buccaneers in rushing. So that shows how pathetic like the Buccaneers were. And you and I both agreed.
Whoa, we did not agree. I said it. I said it.
All right.
You agreed with it after the fact. You said, "Yeah, I think that happened."
Yeah, the week after this, and we were recapping it. It seemed like Brady was more focused on beating Belichick the next week than he was focused on this game and executing in it. Granted, he still didn't have any turnovers in it, but the team as a whole just was not firing on all cylinders. Like Brady threw 55 passes and led the team in rushing. That's not good. Not good by Buck standards. And Matt Stafford, I mean, had a perfect game basically. 350 yards, 4 touchdowns. Matt Stafford has yet to be able to string along good games since I think that Bucks game might have been the last time he like consistently played well for like a stretch of 3 or more.
Now, I can't remember exactly what weeks in the season it was, but I'm pretty sure the Rams Bucks game was early enough, like week 3-ish, where then we got to, I don't know, week 8 maybe, and like you finally started to realize when the Rams played the Titans, like, oh shoot, this team isn't like always all there, and it's like, that's concerning.
Yeah, because after the Bucks game, it's lose to the Cardinals, beat the Seahawks, beat the Giants, lose to the Lions, and it's like Stafford just hasn't really been on his A game consistently, and he played one of the best games of the season for him against the Cardinals that last week. It's going to be a lot to ask for him to do that again. I mean, the dude just got his first playoff win. Like, as crazy as that seems, well, it's not crazy. He's the quarterback for the Lions, but just him being that old and finally getting a playoff win, he's got to keep a level head in this one and play up to the level that he did the previous week, which he just hasn't shown that he can. And like you said, Brady, the epitome of consistency. I don't really think he's going to waver in performance.
I don't. I tried to go against him last week because I needed to pick the Eagles to try to catch up to you in wins, and I thought, like, honestly, I know this sounds crazy, but with the potential for the weather to be poor in Tampa, which it was windy, but the rain, when I looked at the weather report for Tampa, the rain came right before the game and right after the game. Perfectly in the middle, that is when no rain fell. So the Bucks got lucky there. And that was brewing like the perfect storm for the Bucks to lose in these playoffs. Obviously, if the home teams in the NFC side win this weekend, then I think that's the second best opportunity that a team has to knock the Bucks out of the playoffs. But I really like the Bucks at this point on the NFC side of the table. In terms of who I would say out of these four teams left is most likely to reach the Super Bowl, just because, like I said, I question the other two teams, and the Niners are injured, so that's scary for those other three teams. But with that being said, I obviously think that Tampa Bay is going to get the run game going this time. If they get the run game going at all, that completely changes the pace of the game. I don't think that Stafford is going to be perfect this time around. That doesn't mean that I think he's going to turn the ball over, but I also don't think he's going to be as efficient. He could have a game where he plays without having a turnover, but I don't think it's going to be perfect efficiency wise. And I don't even mean like actually like 158.3 quarterback rating or whatever the number is. I just mean like as close to perfect. Like he could only complete like high 50s, low 60s percentage of his passes, and I'm saying that's not really perfection. But no turnovers still. And that could be enough where they lose the game, because if the Bucks offense gets going, obviously they have the weapons around. Now, then also pointing out like the fact that these guys, the Bucks, don't have Godwin or Antonio Brown anymore. Especially after last week, I'm just leaning more towards the fact that doesn't really affect the Bucks offense. I don't think it slows them down enough. They could have scored a lot more points against the Eagles if they needed to, if the Eagles offense would have started putting points on the board any earlier. They didn't, so they didn't force them. I don't know. Maybe one thing that's slightly worrisome is there's been a few games where the Bucks go up big and then just kind of let teams back into it. But even in those games, it's required a huge lead. And I don't know. If there's one thing that I can kind of say about Matt Stafford in those slump weeks, it's often if he starts slow, he doesn't usually heat up. He usually stays cold the entire game. And I can remember games where Stafford made comebacks with the Lions, but they were games where he was hot the entire game and both teams were scoring a lot of points. I don't see a big comeback coming out of the Rams if the Bucks go up early. And if it's a close game too, I'd trust the Bucks in a closer game. So sorry for making like 30 points there and not letting you respond to any of them, but maybe you can try to catch up on some of them all at once.
It's all good because if Stafford needs to start hot. Stafford needs to start hot if the Rams want to have a chance. I do see there being a way though with him being cold and not playing as well for the Rams to get a win in this. And that's with all the injuries that are among the Bucks O-line. Tristan Wirfs might not play in this game.
That's big.
He eventually came back into the game with a pretty gnarly injury, and then got taken back out. And I'm looking at the latest injury report for them right now. He did not practice today. Neither did Ryan Jensen. So two of the biggest players on that O-line not practicing. I believe Ryan Jensen's going to be back. I think he just has a sprained ankle or something along those lines. But Tristan Wirfs, losing him is going to be huge. That could just be a feast for Aaron Donald because the Rams aren't dumb and they just line him up over whatever like the weakest player on that O-line is, which, is the smartest thing you can do. And then the secondary, too, for the Buccaneers is just like Swiss cheese right now with the injuries that they've had. I mean, looking at this right now, Sean Murphy Bunting was limited, and the other guys have just not been performing up to snuff. I mean, Antoine Winfield has been really good, but the other guys, injuries and inconsistencies amongst that secondary, not great. And there's a guy at wide receiver for the Rams that kind of wants something to prove. I mean, his dad is probably the greatest agent and marketing genius of our generation. That's Odell Beckham Jr. Odell Beckham Sr. was out here just saying, "How can my son be the problem?" And he was right. I mean, OBJ's out here catching touchdowns in the playoffs now. And Baker's being reconsidered as the Browns franchise quarterback.
Can
So
can I interject?
yeah,
Very key point here. Um, if Odell wears the double sleeve combo again, that looked amazing. Rams by 50.
yeah. But Odell has something to prove, and I think he's gonna try to get that into Stafford of like, hey man, like he obviously wants to win it all, but it's like, dude, if we beat the Bucks here, like it kind of just solidifies that I wasn't the problem and Baker was. So I mean, he's playing for a little bit more than just a trophy there. And Cooper Cup, he is so modest that he won't admit that he's better than Calvin Johnson. So uh, the wide receiver core for the Rams is great. Secondary for the Bucks hasn't been up to snuff. And Aaron Donald, it's gonna be a good
No,
test.
no,
And
we listen. We here at the Illegal Use of Hands Hands to the Face YouTube channel, we always need to make sure that we disregard talking about the biggest defensive line names in football. Just always ignore them. Just always ignore
yeah,
them. Act like they don't
yeah,
exist. If they're like lesser guys, like we just talked about with the Titans, like a Jeffrey Simmons, or
yeah,
like
we
with the
just
Bengals, like Sam Hubbard or Trey Hendrickson, like yeah, bring them up. But like Donald,
yeah. Aaron Donald, I don't care about your defensive player of the years, bro. Go out there, get your sacks, get talked about the whole game.
whatever, be a jerk and start choking someone again because you do this on a weekly basis. And for some reason, that's not a big deal to the NFL. It's only if you punch. If you punch, it's a big problem. There's a zillion different ways to hurt people, but once you throw a fit, it doesn't. It really, it's really stupid in my opinion, to be honest. Like if you want to
Well,
try to punch a guy in the face mask, whatever. I would honestly say choking is more egregious than punching, in my opinion. But it's whatever. It's not my job to do it.
yeah, I don't know. When I saw that, like it's another thing too, where like if Aaron Donald does that to me, I am off my game for the rest of the game. I'm like, I do not want to get choked by that guy.
I guess maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. And
It's a
he's just
it's a scare
taking
tactic.
taking advantage of the letter of the law, saying that you don't have to do anything. Man, that's the real thing that we're missing. Man, the only reason I could have wanted the Saints to make it to the playoffs instead of the Niners or the Eagles is just to get Chauncey Gardner-Johnson a little bit more camera
Yeah.
time.
The all menace bowl with Chauncey Gardner Johnson running out onto the field to just fight Aaron Donald. That would be great.
Man, no, oh man, that would be so fun. No, I mean, yeah, no, it's different. It's different because when I don't know why, but when a guy like is like very talented and then they're just like very talented, like obviously like top near one of the best players in the league, and he does it, it's like, ugh, why are you doing that? But then when there's like a guy like Chauncey Gardner Johnson who's just like the most middle of the road player ever, and he does it, it's like hilarious. It's like, yes, be that guy. Be that guy who's not even worth that much and just making the other team like so mad.
Yeah, be that guy that you could definitely get Mike Evans ejected from the game, and if you get ejected with him, it's not that
It's
big of a
not a big
deal.
deal. It's amazing. It's great. All right. Um, got to pick the game. Who's winning?
I'm locking Tampa Bay to win this one.
Oh, oh, I have to lock somebody. Oh, I'll. Sorry, I didn't. I forgot that I have to lock somebody. Honestly, I'm gonna backtrack to our last game. I'm gonna lock the Packers, even though I still think they can fail. Um, I like I don't see any of these games as runaway games. I guess I feel like the Packers, in terms of the rosters of those two teams, should be the team that's most likely to win, but I'm still not confident in that. I'm going to take the Bucks. I'm trusting Brady more in this situation, and not one win playoff Matthew Stafford. You know, Brady has what? Wait, Brady has what, 7 rings now? So I mean, Brady has 7 times as many Super Bowl wins as Stafford has playoff wins. So let's just let that sit there, and that's my reasoning behind the choice for this game. Okay,
All right. So,
you all set?
yeah, I think we could cut this here.